We're in winter, 24th of December, the time of hibernation, things being dormant and still. Everything internalizing, the trees dropping their sap, no longer pushing it out to the edges, to the branches, to feed leaves that aren't there anymore because they've shed their leaves, and going within themselves, becoming quiet, dormant and still. Periods of stillness in nature are really important. Periods of stillness at all are really important. Was it not Debussy who said, music is the space between the notes? Peace and silence, stillness allow for moments of creativity, for things to be born again out of the stillness. They break up the chaos and allow us to replenish. So they're vitally important. But in today's world, overlooked, seen as horrible and boring, no stimulation. We see these times of dormancy, so sleepingness, where nothing seems to happen, as seemingly unpleasant. You know, winter is unpleasant because nothing's going on, everything's just dead and grey and not many leaves on the trees, and it's cold and everything turns inward. We're more interested in times of accumulation. Everything's accumulated and we want to accumulate. We want spring, when we can collect flowers, summer when we can go out and do things, collect things, autumn when we can collect berries and fruits. But winter's like the baddie, because it's just dormant, it's just a period of sleep and introspection. Everything we have is accumulated. We eat food which is broken down and transformed into energy to create new cells which will become muscle and bone and sinew and blood. We accumulate water for the same purpose, to build systems in our body. All of our knowledge is accumulated. Everything we know is something we've accumulated from somewhere. Accumulation through genetics. I have my father's nose, unfortunately. Accumulation of self through memories, remembering who you are, or remembering what your stances on things are and who you're supposed to be. So even yourself, your identity is an accumulation. Everything is accumulated. It's been borrowed from somewhere else. The leaves that will come in spring and will be adorning the trees in summer are an accumulation of what the leaves before them collected. That energy has been stored in the tree and it's passed back out again. But nature obviously needs periods of pause, of breaking, of introversion, to bundle energy and then to release that energy in the next creative process. Everything does that. But we hate this. We seem to hate having to pause. We seem to hate having to go inside. We want to accumulate instead of looking at the thing that is not accumulated. Everything else about you has been accumulated. Your memories, your thoughts are an accumulation. All of your sensory input is an accumulation of memories of sensory input in a comparison to what is now. If you hadn't have had the touch of a leaf beforehand, you would have no way to compare it to now. So you've accumulated that knowledge as well. Before you even touch the leaf, you know what it's going to feel like. So you accumulate information all the time. But the only thing that doesn't seem to be accumulated when you go inside is a sense of being. But we seem to despise this. You ask people to sit down and meditate for 2 minutes. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I get bored really quickly. Oh, I think too much. Oh, I can't. Oh, it drives me mad. Oh, it's boring. Oh, it's horrible. You know, they can't stand it. They can't stand turning inward and just observing something without accumulating anything from it. I'm not going to get anything out of this. But these are doing it all the time, every winter. And they know that what they get out of this is the time to prepare for the next phase of creativity. It's like a period of waiting and internalizing. And it really isn't that difficult. And it's a beautiful feeling when you leave all of the accumulated stuff outside. Who am I? What am I? What do I think? How do I think about this? How do I think about that? And simply become the very core, which is being. Being the thing that perceives all of those accumulations. Being the thing that perceives all of that within itself. And staying as that thing. It's not boring at all. It's incredibly peaceful and gives you a sense of indestructibility, because everything else here appears to be dead. It's not dead, it's sleeping. And this thing is also not dead, it's sleeping. And even when the accumulation comes, even when the period of creativity comes and it's covered in leaves and thoughts and expressions and ideas and all the rest that your identity creates, it's still there, sleeping. Makes me think a bit of Richard Feynman, who realised at some point that the sun gives energy to trees. They transform the energy into their body, if you like. And when you burn a tree, you're releasing the energy. So the fire that you see when you burn a log is fire of the sun, literally. He thought that was a beautiful idea. And to see the thing behind all of this accumulation, the sleeping thing that is the observer of all of this, is really nice. Practice of doing that, mistakenly called meditation, because meditation is the act, the state. But going that way to this place is like forging a little path through a forest. You know, once you've walked there once, the second time you might get lost, but then you sort of refine a piece of the path and carry on again. The next time you sort of know it a bit better and you follow the path a bit better. And the more you walk the path, the more you produce a path to walk. Eventually you don't have to wander and search to find a way there. You know exactly how the way feels to get there. And so you can literally just drop into that place straight away in seconds, instead of sitting down to meditate for hours and trying to get there. You don't need to meditate anymore, you can just be there. And that's not boring, far from it. In fact, it's so well known to you and homely that it feels like coming home. And you could quite happily sit there for hours. It's not like reading a book because you're involved in something else away from you, or watching a film where you're involved in something else, suspending your knowledge of yourself for the period of the film, all of that accumulation, until you arrive at that place where simply being, it's the other way around. You're turning your look inwards towards this part of yourself, and there's an unpleasant thing to get over. It's beautiful and peaceful and quiet and gentle and blissful. But people don't get past the accumulation part. They want to accumulate. They want desperately for it to be spring and summer, and they don't want this winter. That winter is as important as everything else. It's maybe even more important because it's the pause that allows for the creativity afterwards. And it really isn't difficult to get to. Maybe that's why we're obsessed with accumulation at all. Having things. Having our attention drawn somewhere else. Not having to be there. Not having to be stuck with me. People say it as a prison sentence, to be stuck with yourself. I understand that. I don't see it as a sentence or a punishment to be alone and stuck with myself. My identity I would, because my identity can be horrible and stressful. But with the self, with the state of being, that's not a punishment. It's a pleasure.